Ryan, how much can Matt Barnes help during a week like this preparing for Maryland, given the fact that he was there last year and had such a big role on their staff as well?
Yeah, no, he did an unbelievable job in a tough spot last year, and very sharp. Had his hands on defense, special teams, everything like that. But it's a very whole new crew over there. Can help with personnel, but a lot of the personnel's changed too. So, a little bit, but not all that much.
You talked a lot about Justin Fields' toughness, and I'm sure you knew he was tough before you guys played any games. You can't play quarterback at this level and not be tough. Did it take until the game started till you knew how tough he was? Because I'm sure he wasn't hit very much in the preseason. Like, when did you learn that he is, like, ultra tough, I guess?
I think for a quarterback, it's hard because you're never live, so you don't know those type of things. You don't know competitively how tough guys are until you get into those situations. And there was times during the season where you started to recognize that more and more. I thought the Nebraska one, he took a shot where the guy launched right into his chest and even into his head, and the next play threw a fade to Garrett for a touchdown. And signs like that of toughness.
Second row left, Ari. Ryan, when you last year decided to recruit Enoch in Hawaii and other recruits out there, and that, when you're considering taking this program into Hawaii for recruiting, do you have to consider other things besides just how far it is? I'm talking like finances, and I mean it's part of America, but it's so far away. I just don't know what the discussions are, if there's other discussions outside of, let's go to California, Florida, Texas, and everywhere else.
Yeah, that's a big part of the conversation, and we obviously want our foundation of recruiting to be right here, but then we go out throughout the entire country to look to find the best players in the country, and the United States and the globe has gotten smaller every year based on just the internet and computer and everything, travel, and so these guys nowadays are just so much more in tune with all the different schools that are within the country, and guys are traveling, and you look at the guys who have come from Hawaii, and Tua and Marcus and a lot of guys, and we have several guys from the area. Haskell Garrett grew up there, and Enoch's from there, and so and they've done a great job assimilating here, and they love it. And so the more guys that we see come from remote areas who do well, then we continue to work on that. But we also know the challenges that come with it.
Send somebody there, or to continue. I remember last year before signing day, didn't you take a flight all the way to Hawaii and
Right.
then come back like the next 4 hours later or something
Yeah.
crazy like that? Like, what do you have to consider as a program in terms of time that could be spent recruiting other players, and you know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
like
it's all
the
taken into
investment in that.
consideration. Long conversations about, is it worth it? Conversations about, is there interest on both sides? Do we think that it's worth it to go all the way out there to go see somebody and evaluate them? But yeah, those are not things that we come to lightly. We take a lot of time to go through that and make sure that it is worth it, like you're saying, because there's a time and financial investment in that.
Second row middle, Bruce. So I'm looking at the Maryland game last year, and they score 7 touchdowns and 51 points, and they rush for 3 something. And I know you're an offensive coordinator last year, and I'm just wondering, during that, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Anything at all? Because you got your own deal, but what are you thinking?
Hard to remember exactly at the time what I was thinking, but that was a wild game, and I remember that was a big game for Dwayne in terms of establishing himself as a runner. If you remember, I think he ran like 12 or 13 times. I thought that was, it was a tough game for him, and we actually threw a pick 6 in that game and had to come down on a 2-minute drill. I remember it being crazy, that's for sure. But it was one of those back and forth games, and it seemed like who had the ball last would win. And I remember the 4th down conversion to Rashad. That was a huge deal, and some guys made some. Terry McLaurin had a great game, and but it was a back and forth game. And sometimes when you get to this time of year, there's some wacky games out there, and you have to adapt on the move.
So 7 touchdowns and 51 points, and this year in 5 Big Ten games, you've given up 5 touchdowns and 38 points. And it's the same guys. It's Werner and Borland and Harrison and the same D-line and the same secondary. And I just wonder if you can help me and us understand, how can that defense be this defense?
I think there's a lot of things. There's a lot of different, in terms of maturity, these guys are all a year older, and they're that's all changed. The scheme has changed. So there's a lot that goes into it. The offenses we're seeing are different. This team's hungry. I think they all really enjoy playing with each other, and I think that it's a conversation that would take more than just one answer, on why so far to this point, they've played at this level, but they got to bring it every week now, and it's going to be the same thing, and it's only as good as you played the last week. So, The challenge is going to continue, and every team that comes out there is going to want to score points and prove that they can move the ball against our defense. So, again, new challenge this week. They're dangerous. They got athletes. They're well coached. They got good scheme. So, another challenge for us.
Is it a conversation where the answer is just outside the code of a football coach like yourself saying, we were playing the wrong scheme, or we were playing too complex of a scheme for our guys? I'm sure you're sensitive to that because you don't want to light up guys who were here before. But from the outside looking in, the explanation is hard to find on anything other than that.
I think there's a lot that goes into it. I don't think it's as simple as that, but and again, I think so much of it has to do with a bunch of guys who sat around for a whole off season and heard that they struggled and they came in with something to prove, and they worked really hard in the off season, got bigger, stronger, really dove into the defense and created great relationships with the coaches, and now they're playing at a high level.
College football playoff poll comes out tonight. You'll take note of that. How important is it where you are in the first one? And what's the message once it comes out?
I think it's for the fans. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to us because if we lose this weekend, we're not going to be in the top 4. That's for sure. So what matters is where we're at once we're done with the season, the regular season. So none of that really matters to us.
Aren't you a little curious?
Not really, no. Because again, it doesn't matter if we don't continue to win. Then what matters is the record at the end of the season and where you're ranked at the end. So that does not matter to us.
Right front, Tom. 8 games into the season, Coach, what's your biggest concern right now? I mean, obviously, you got 4 games to go in the regular season, but what do you guard against now?
Well, I think that at this time of the season, you're in November, and crazy things can happen. So we have to continue to stay focused on the things that have got us to this point, and the discipline, the toughness, taking care of the football, tackling, because kids are impressionable in nowadays, and everybody wants instant gratification. And at this point of the year, only thing that works is continuing to go back to the things that have worked. And we just can't get bored with that. We have to continue to embrace that, understand how important it is, and that's a huge part of being tough, is being disciplined enough to do the same things week in and week out and not stray from that, or stray from that, and start to fray as a team. So that's the focus, and that's the coaches and the leaders and everybody involved in the program to make sure we stay locked in on that.
Do you really hound them now? Because there's some big games looming. We can all read the schedule, but do you hound them like, hey guys, we got to stay in the moment?
Oh yeah, for sure. But again, if you're where we're at right now and you're undefeated at this point of the season, they're all big. And if you don't think they're big, try losing one. See how that goes. I mean, they're all big. So we got to stay locked in on today's practice. We got to stay locked in on this week, and then we go from there.
Third row right, Rob.
Brian, big-time college athletics has gotten to the point where almost like fun is a dirty word. And yet this team seems to really enjoy what they're doing. And I know winning has a lot to do with that, camaraderie has a lot to do with that, but how do you foster that? Do you have to remind yourself at times that this is a game and that they're supposed to have fun? And moving forward, how do you balance that? Is that an objective, to enjoy what you're doing?
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think there's a flow to that. Where what I mean by that is at different times of the season, fun is different. So when you're having a mat drill at 5 a.m. on a March 15th or something like that, or you're having a preseason meeting at 8:00 at night on August 7th, like you can find ways to make that fun for the guys. And we always want to make sure that those guys always leave here wanting more, and they enjoy coming through the building, and they feel confident about their relationships here. And it's an environment where they feel safe and want to come in and have fun every day and enjoy that. This time of year, fun's a little different. Fun is winning, and fun is being part of a team and working towards a goal and working through adversity and those type of things, and not silly, goofy fun. There's a difference, and so we've worked hard to get to ourselves to this point, and we owe it to each other to make sure we're locked in on that.
Do you have to plan that? I mean, is that something that's just your personality? I know, a few years ago there was the grind, which that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but not to knock that, but is that who you are, or is it something that when you look at your strategy, that you actually work that in?
Well, I think, you can go through this profession and this life and to go through seasons, and all of a sudden you wake up in 10 years and you realize maybe you didn't have any fun, and you have to do that. You have to wake up and smell the roses and enjoy what you're doing, and that's a big part of it. I don't think that's right now though. Where we're at, we've worked hard to get to this point. Now we got to stay locked in, and it is time to grind. It is very serious now. But that's why you pay it ahead. You pay it forward, and that's why in preseason camp, we'd almost start every meeting here with guys dancing and having fun and doing those type of things, because you want those guys to realize that this is a place where they can really enjoy it, and they love coming to the building every day. And if you're vested into it that way and you like that, you're gonna show up with energy. Then I think it makes for a better environment.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, following up a little bit on that, Ryan, about the CFP tonight, though, is there a sense of pride that y'all have put yourselves in the conversation, if you follow my drift? I mean, that you are there, it's there, if you take care of business. Do you reinforce that with your team, too, that?
Yeah, and in the team meeting, I said, congratulations, you're relevant in November. I mean, there's something to be said for that, absolutely. That's where you want to be right now in November, is be relevant, and we are. So that's good, but the rankings and all that stuff, really shouldn't be any of our focus.
And the other thing, as you look at Maryland just defensively, what is different about them this year that you can explain to the folks that they'll see on Saturday that's caught your eye?
Yeah, they have a combination of 4 down, 3 down, kind of like a lot of people do, but they give you a lot of different looks. And I thought they played one of their better games last week. They were running around, they were playing really hard, even when they got down a few scores. Guys were still playing really, really hard, running to the ball. And so they're similar to last year in a little bit of their structure, but a whole new scheme in terms of the coaches that are involved with it. But good players, and again, they're playing hard, and I thought they're getting better as the season's going on.
Your players are humans. How do you keep them on the right track from the standpoint of a lot of people are saying this is going to be easy. What is your message to them? 44-point favorite.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old young men who you got to make sure you're on top of them, and you're talking to them constantly about those things. And so it's a daily thing. It's not something we just have a canned message for the week. We approach every day the best we can. You walk in every day and something may have changed, with the way that the team's operating and the feel of the team, the personality, how are they practicing, what's going on, how's the leadership, and you just keep working at it on a daily basis and you keep addressing it from there.
Front row, middle right, Joey.
Ryan, there was an ESPN survey that came out which interviewed all the Power 5 coaches, and they asked if you were in favor of playoff expansion or not. You were in the group that was in favor of expansion. Could you maybe elaborate on kind of what you would like to see from expansion long term?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think now's the time to really get into all that, but I do believe that if you win your conference, then you should get into some sort of playoff. But I'd rather not get into all that. I think that's a great conversation for the offseason.
And just looking at switching gears here, looking at the season Chase has had, he's talked about this before, but last season he had 2 ankle injuries, which kind of limited what he was able to do on the field and the ability to cut and that sort of thing. When you watch him this season, how much, I mean, it seems sort of obvious, but how much has that been a factor in his play this season, just not having 2 bad ankles?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it goes into it. Certainly having an injury, slows you down, but then also being a year, older, that matters. I think when you get into that 3rd year, you see guys like, JK and, Jeff Okuda, different guys have really taken off in that 3rd year. And I think there's a little bit of the injury and a little bit of being in their 3rd year.
Far left, Lori.
Coach Day, we've talked a lot about getting players out of a game, watching for injury, getting them rest. But is practice enough for these guys to stay sharp, or do they need a certain amount of reps in a game? Do they need to stay in a certain amount of time for them to maintain the sharpness that you want?
That's a great question. I think that guys need to play, and they need to play in games for sure. And so every game we go into, we're ready to take the thing into the 4th quarter, win a game in the 4th quarter, and play 60 minutes, and we go from there. We try not to think too far ahead of that, because then we start getting ahead of ourselves. So that's it. The same thing is going to happen this week. Guys are going to be ready to roll. They're going to play, and they're going to play 60 minutes, and we're going to win the game in the 4th quarter and go from there.
Are you a guy that keeps track of numbers during a game? If you see JK with 199, will you try to get him 200, or is that a factor at all when you're thinking of playing?
Rarely will that be something that we take into consideration. If you're into that type of scenario in a game, it's really about what's best for the team and what's best for the individual in terms of keeping them healthy.
Third row right, Dylan.
As you enter into November and the stretch run, do you sense there's a heightened sense of urgency with your team? Is that something you even want to see, or do you kind of just want to go status quo, like a machine moving forward week in, week out? Or?
A little bit of both. I mean, you want some consistency. You want to keep that same routine in place. But I think as the weeks go on and we continue to do well, I think there's more and more at stake, and I think the guys feel that.
I'm sorry. Front row left, Doug.
You guys have worked Garrett Wilson in some spots in the return game. He's had a role offensively with receiver. When you have any player like that, I know your goal is win Saturday and that's it, and you want to have players who can help you win on Saturday. But is there also some kind of like development plan for a career for a guy like that? Like, hey, we think Garrett Wilson, for instance, can really help us when he's a sophomore and when he's a junior. Therefore, we think as a freshman, this is what would be best for him as he tries to be a good player when he gets older. How do you factor any of that in with an individual player to what you're trying to do as a team right now?
Yeah, I think you try to get guys ready to play as soon as possible, and some guys come in at mid-year, some guys come in there in the summer, and so there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But for the most part, when someone comes as a freshman, their ability level is at a certain level, and then their skill and discipline's at another level, and so we try to bring guys along as fast as possible. But in our program, there's so much time that's put in the off season, so that when you get into year 2 and you get into year 3, you have such more vested into the program, and you also have an advantage because physically, understanding the scheme, just the whole thing, leadership wise, you've been through off seasons with Coach Mick in the off season. That all matters, and it also matters within the program too. And so, guys who have been here for a while, they have the right to have the first shot at things. And then as guys start to earn their stripes, they start to earn more and more. And I think that's the way an organization should work.
You and Mike Loxley, this is not unusual for coaches. You have lots of experience working with quarterbacks. Guys like that, when you are recruiting quarterbacks, the fact that you and Coach Loxley and other people have coached that position specifically, how does that help you in recruiting quarterbacks or in developing quarterbacks when you, as the head coach, are kind of a quarterback person?
I think when you're recruiting somebody and they understand that the head coach is involved with that position, I think it matters because they understand that it's going to be friendly that way, and you're going into a situation where the head coach isn't a defensive coach, where the quarterback maybe doesn't get as much attention or consideration, I guess. But certainly when the head coach has a quarterback background, that is going to be taken into consideration, and it's, I guess, quote-unquote quarterback friendly, for lack of another term. But I think it does matter because, you're going in there as the head coach with a background and, a resume of work with quarterbacks. And I think today's day and age, recruits want to see that. They want to know, what have you done? It's one thing to say something. It's another thing to show them what you've done. And then you combine that with, with the position coach, I think it makes a big deal.
And last thing, we've been talking a lot about the Maryland game last year. Coming off that Maryland game last year, you guys go out and beat Michigan, and you win the Big Ten championship. You go and win the Rose Bowl. Did you feel like, as an assistant on that staff, was that like a line in the sand of like, man, like we can't live like this anymore? Like we were maybe lucky in some ways to win that game. You gutted it out, but it also, if the 2-point play goes a different way, you lose that game. Did that feel like, what did that feel like just coming off a nail biter like that, because you guys responded and beat 3 good teams to end the season last year?
Well, I mean, I think on offense, what it allowed us to do was, I think Dwayne at that point established himself as a runner, and he was a little bit more of a threat. And I thought that changed us on offense a little bit. As a team, I mean, I think as a team we were always going and looking to attack, but I thought to go into that game and win in 2-minute drills, red zone. I mean, there was just a lot of situations going on right there. Short yardage, overtime. You just learn a lot about your team in a game like that. You got to gut it out. And I thought that kind of, as tough as that game was, it catapulted us through the rest of the season, like you're saying.
Front row right, Bill.
Yeah, Damon Arnett's story has been told quite a bit this year, how he was one step out the door. When you evaluate what he has done this year, what stands out to you the most?
I think it's so cool when you see somebody walk down a hallway and tell you the best decision I made was coming back, and he tells people around the facility that he loves them. And I think that just goes to show you how much he put into this program. And he got his degree this summer, and to play the way he's played and to put the work in, and then see all that stuff show up on the field and everything that he put in the off season, on and off the field, to get to where he is right now. But then also play at a high level. It's a success story. One of many here at Ohio State. But really proud of the way he's approached it, and the strides he's taken in the last year has been unbelievable, and it's all well deserved because he put a lot into it.
And you're going to be playing against one of your former players, Keandre Jones, plays for Maryland. He's played pretty well. Sounds like that was a very, no friction, no problem with him leaving. What would you want to say about Keandre and the success he's had at Maryland?
Yeah, it's great to see him playing with a lot of passion and effort, and nothing but respect for he and his family, and got an opportunity to go closer to home, and so we supported that the best we could. Certainly didn't want to see him leave, but we also understand, and I'm glad that things are working out for him.
Second row left, Matt.
A lot has been mentioned the Maryland game last year and the defense, and Bruce was bringing up the points that he gave up. Does that come up? You talk about the defense playing with a chip on their shoulder all year. Does a week like this reinforce it? Do they go into this game going, man, look what happened last year? Do you sense, even though it's a game that you're favored heavily on, a feeling on the defense and going into this game like, let's show where we've come from a year ago?
I think so. Yeah, I think they know how dangerous the running game is, and they know. I mean, it was only a year ago that they played against them, and McFarland ran for 300 yards, so they know that. And I don't think they're proud of that, and they want to do a better job this time around, for sure.
Kind of off topic, but this game's going to be over, 3 o'clock or whatever. There's a huge game, LSU, Alabama. How does Ryan Day unwind after a game? Hopefully you win or whatever. You're sitting down. If there's a big game, and you sit down and, hey, don't bother me, I want to watch this. Are you a fan? Will you take that in? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I've said this before. One of my favorite things to do is after a noon win, go home, sit in a recliner with the family, order food, and watch games. And I love that. That's some of my favorite memories. We get home in the car. The family gets together in the car. We turn up the music real loud after a win. We drive up 315. We get home. We relax, sit on the couch, enjoy each other, turn the fire on, and watch games. That's if you talk about being happy, that's me being happy on a Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, whatever game's on, we'll watch it, and hopefully that's the case on Saturday.
You mentioned your admiration for Joe Burrow. Does watching a game like that he's playing in, does it give you more of a rooting interest, or do you just kind of take it back?
I've enjoyed watching Joe on TV, but also even watching his film and seeing what they're doing throwing the ball. They're doing a great job. He's doing a great job leading. You can tell he's doing a great job preparing, and he's gonna finish the year the right way. You can tell they're in a good place.
Front row left, Nathan.
Last year, the Maryland game was one of, I guess, several examples where you came out of it thinking there's things that have to be fixed with this defense. This year, this defense is giving you maybe a quarter's worth of concern. Maybe sometimes, for the most part, it's shutting people down. So how are you guys, I guess, holding this team accountable at a different standard, or are you finding new ways to try to test this defense in a way that you didn't have to last season?
It's all about how you coach, in my opinion. What are you holding guys accountable to off of film? Is it just the results, or are you really holding guys accountable to executing on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, special teams? And there's certain times we have talented guys where guys can get away with talent. That's not good, and we can't allow that to happen. And some of the worst experiences in the human experience is to get rewarded for bad behavior. And when we see it on film, we got to address it. And the players have to be open to that. Even though maybe a play went well, that's not what we want here. So we have to hold them to that standard, and that's really good coaching and really good leadership.
Is this something you saw guys buying into right away? Was there some growing
We've been
pains
talking
or
about it for a long time. So yeah.
And final couple questions. Second row right, Tony.
Brian, you've got some fifth-year guys who have key roles on this team, but aside from the games, what do those fifth-year guys, what's it like to have them? How important is it to have those guys every year?
Well, I think they bring a maturity level that's off the charts, and I think that the work ethic and the investment they've put into this place and the seriousness, they know what it's supposed to look like, is huge. And their ability to step up and challenge some of the younger guys, get up in front of the team, talk to the team, that's when you go from good to great. But if you want to make a run in November, you need to have those older guys who have been around, who take control of the team.
Do you think the transfer portal is going to take some of that away, even though you'll be maybe adding more fifth-year seniors? They haven't put the 5 years in with you. Do you think that's going to alter things?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't think it's going to drastically change anything.
And final questions, front row right, Austin?
Ryan, how would you, obviously the offense is scoring points, but I'm just looking at the passing attack, and you lean towards the quarterbacks and throwing it. Are you satisfied with the passing attack right now? Do you want more down the stretch? How do you view that at this point?
I think it's all based on game plan and what we're seeing. We obviously want to balance, and last week, it was raining sideways, and we still had to be able to throw the ball, especially at the end of the first half there. I thought that kind of got us going, but always tough to work on, in the run game and the pass game. But we always want to balance there, and so still every week, every time we watch film, there's things to improve on, and we're working at that.
As many balls to go around for the wide receivers, and they rotate as it is. You referenced this earlier in the year that it might come. Like, are you still getting guys trying to knock on the door and ask for more chances? How do you manage that? Can be a tricky position to do.
Yeah, I know it can. And when we look back at last year, we had 6 guys that kind of rolled, and it all worked out well for all of those guys. And so we just continue to do that. And when you have your opportunity, you got to make them count. And you look at other schools throughout the country, they don't have maybe as an explosive as offense as we have, and we try to do the best we can to get those guys out in space. It's an unbelievable offense to play in. Those guys need to buy in it. When they have their opportunity, they got to go. And at this time of the year, they can't let their egos get in the way. That's just what it comes down to. And I thought last year was a great example of that. When you look at Terry and Paris and Johnny, not one time did they ever say we need more touches. And I think Terry had 35 total catches last year, which is amazing because look what he's doing now. And so he could have been in my office every week complaining. He didn't. But it all worked out for him, and it all works out for these guys in the end if we continue to do well as a team.
And Austin Mack had that really impressive drive against Northwestern and then didn't play against Wisconsin. When he comes out, what does that do? How does that shuffle the pieces around at wide receiver?
Just another guy has to step up, yeah. Or we maybe get a few more targets for one other guy who if somebody goes down. But Jameson's kind of stepped up into that role and done a nice job.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan.
Bruce, I don't know if I answered your question. We'll have Coach Yurich out here if I did.
I saw your calendar email. Jerry.
Not sure.
Hold.
Try to be quick.
I'm just holding.
Who's talking tomorrow night?
It'll be at least 20 minutes.
Sure.
I don't know if I can get them, but you can text me.
Marcus, I saw that defending national champion Cedarville is going to match the Wright State represent in the men's hoopery. Well, it was an exhibition.
GD.
And Cedarville, wait a minute. Ohio State's
We don't give a limited pool of teams that are.
Wouldn't it be better to have an
Good afternoon. Morning.
All righty, folks, we'll open up for questions for Coach Yurich. Front row, third row, right, Rob.
To the untrained eye, Justin Fields looks like he came out of the gate ready to go. You see improvement. Maybe I don't see a lot of improvement, again, technically. Where has he improved? Were you surprised that, boom, right out of the blocks, he was as good as he has? Fill us in on that if you could.
Well, I think there's been a lot of growth since the time he got here to where he is now. And with quarterback play, in our opinion, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's not all his responsibility, meaning his teammates have a lot to do with it. We've been very fortunate. I think we've established the line of scrimmage very well. That's probably an understatement. I think any time you're able to block as well up front as what we have been doing, I think,
you're going to have good play around that from every skill position. And I think the quarterback can be a representative of really terrific offensive line play. So I think our ability to run the football, I think our ability to protect the passer as well as we have, relates to the effectiveness and the efficiency of a quarterback play. So with that being said, our receivers are doing a great job. JK's doing a great job. Master's doing a great job. It's a piece of the puzzle, and he's done a great job of staying within our schemes, staying within the system, staying within himself. And I think what's interesting is when you're as talented as he is, when you have the arm strength and when you have the physical abilities that he has, it would be really easy for the ego to get involved and to, in a certain situation, feel that you can make that play. And he understands that it's about the team. He's putting the team first. So there's a time to throw the ball away. There's a time to stay within yourself and within the system and take care of the ball. So those are the important things. And his growth, and his ability to be unselfish is to me what has given him so much success right now is taking care of that football and putting the team first. Because if you're that talented, man, you see that small window, you think you can get it in there. Somebody's covered, not really, I can do it, right? So his ability to understand those situations and to manage that, I think, has given him the amount of success that he's had.
He seems unflappable too, but there hasn't really been that it moment. How do you prepare a guy like you're down 4 with 2 minutes to play? How do you coach him through that when you haven't seen it yet?
Well, I think you try to rep those in practice as much as you can, and the pressures and the preparation, as they say, right? So if you continually to put pressure on them during practice and put them in those situations and make it hard in the practice, and you're going against a really good defense in practice, then I think when it happens in the game, you just react, and you play faster, and you're in the moment, and you've drilled it, so they're prepared, so they're anticipating that and can play with great speed and anticipation.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Mike, you talked in the spring about the development process of learning the offense with Justin and going through all that. At what point did you feel like he was really getting it?
Well, I don't know if you sit there and you say, okay, has he really gotten it? I mean, it's still a work in progress. We're still trying to get better. So every day is just another opportunity to learn more and to refine more and to get better. We're not sitting here right now saying, okay, man, we've really gained a lot. Look at where we're at. No, it's like, where can we go? Let's keep getting better. So I don't really think about it in that sense. I know that's kind of avoiding that question. But we really don't reflect back and say, man, look how much we've learned. This is, how much left. We still have a lot of work to do. So we're just trying to get back to work and get better.
So take me to that other side then.
Yep.
Like, how much more do you see? How much more room is there? How much more can you install in this brain?
A significant amount. What is that? I think we both can get better. I can become a better quarterback coach, and he can become a better quarterback within this system. I think there's a lot of room for improvement. You watch practice tape, you see mistakes that shouldn't be made. There's room for improvement.
Front row middle, Dave from 24/7 Sports.
Mike, Coach Day's talked a lot about Justin Fields' toughness, and I'm sure you guys knew he was tough before the game started, but Coach Day was saying he didn't know how tough he was until, because you guys weren't hitting in camp and stuff like that. When did you know just how tough he was?
I think you're finding out as the season progresses just how tough he is, and you face tougher opponents, and I think, the Wisconsin game, obviously he showed a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, took some hits, and just as the season goes on and you see a guy that bounces back and is able to practice, with some soreness too, that's some toughness. You got a lot of adrenaline on Saturday afternoons, and sometimes it's easier to get back up, but not as easy to practice on Tuesday and get going. So I think his toughness has shown throughout the week and as the season progresses.
And obviously, the most important thing is winning the game, but also how important is it to get Chugs or even Hoke some time, in real game situations, just in case something would happen with Justin?
Very important. You have to, certain things come into factor. Obviously, you want the game in hand. But you have to be able to develop your guys and to be able to get a lead and to get them significant snaps, is really important for their development. Game snaps, live game snaps.
Front row right, Bill, from the dispatch.
Yeah, you talked about what, in terms of you and Justin, how you guys can improve overall as an offense. What do you think is the next step? What can you improve? Is it pass protection? I mean, that's maybe one area where at times it's been a little bit shaky. I mean, what's the biggest area to improve?
I would say that we need to continue to improve on the things that really matter towards winning. And even though statistics say one thing, we can always improve and work on the base fundamentals of ball security. That's first and foremost. And then, yes, protections. Protecting the quarterback, him protecting himself, knowing when to get rid of the football and not take unnecessary hits, very important. But then just being able to develop, staying within your schemes but tweaking them a little bit week to week and staying within a structure in which we know which is familiar, but maybe disguising by formation or a tag, a certain play, a certain concept to make it a little bit more difficult to defend, and to develop those concepts and continually work on those schemes, I think, are very important, as well as situational football, getting better in the red zone, getting better, when we get in position to score and take advantage and scoring points. What we call is the plan to win.
You came from a program and a conference that a lot of offense. What strikes you in your time here about whether the talent level, the coaching level, whatever it might be, that's just wow?
Well, I think what we have here at Ohio State is a very much a team concept. As an offense, we understand the plan to win is to play great defense. And in order to play great defense, you have to establish the line of scrimmage, you have to run the football, you have to protect the football very well. And those are sorts of things that are team things that are, it's not, just about one side of the ball, it's about special teams. It's about defense and playing great defense, and we have to do our part as an offense for the team to have success.
Right next door, Tim, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, Mike, playing off of that a little bit, what is the biggest difference 8 games into this that you've seen from Big Ten defenses compared to what you were looking at the last couple of years at Oklahoma State? I mean, a lot of people, the perception is the Big 12 doesn't play a lot of great defense. What have you seen?
I would say probably just the ability to – you see more drop 8 in the Big 12. You see more guys in coverage as opposed to, more 4-down defensive structures. In simplest terms, more coverages in the Big 12 as opposed to Big 10.
And the other thing, past his leadership and being a team guy and stuff, what is a physical thing that you spotted about Justin Fields over the last many months that sets him apart, do you think?
Well, if you're able to if you give him something new from a drop standpoint, maybe it's under center and throwing the speed out to the field, he's able to take it from the meeting and his first rep, it's right on point. You drill a little bit, and some guys just, it's hard for them to get the rhythm and to, take some words into, the dance. But he's able to transition very well. He's very natural. He's a very gifted athlete. He can do a lot of different things well. We went golfing in the summer, and he's never golfed before, and you'd never know it, And with a couple rounds, I think he'd be able to even compete with a guy like me. But no, that's no joke. He can hold his own. He's just a natural. He's a very gifted athlete, and that's what's most impressive.
Front row middle, Joey from the dispatch.
Justin's from Georgia, kind of a little bit of a warmer weather state than here. With it being November now, do you have to get somebody like that kind of more prepared to play in cold weather, and how do you do that?
I don't think so. I mean, it is what it is, and the weather is going to be an element that we can't control. We talk about things that are under our control, our preparation, our effort, our toughness, our ability to recognize defenses, communicate, all the things that we can control. The weather is not one of them, so we don't focus on that. We practice in the elements. We break out the wet ball drill when we anticipate rain, but we block out the things that we can't control and try to stay focused on the things that we can. And I think that's where his mindset is.
Was the Wisconsin game maybe an encouraging sign for how he'll look in the cold November game? That was a game where it was raining and he ran the ball 13 times.
Yeah, he's got good size hands. He's got really good strength in his grip. So, you know, I don't think the wet ball will affect him as much as other quarterbacks. Will it affect him? Yeah, I think a wet ball and cold weather will affect any passer to a degree. And what degree is that? I think we'll find out a little bit more as it gets more chilly. But he's shown signs that he can effectively still be productive even in wet conditions.
Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Coach, you work with Justin, so does Corey, so does Ryan. It had the potential to be a case of too many pitches, but you guys have made it seem so seamless. How have you managed to work out where you all have input and he's yet hearing one voice?
Well, I think our ability to be on the same page is really important. I think Corey and I do a really good job of listening to Ryan and how he teaches the quarterback and his coaching terms and trying to be parallel with that, you know, to say things and to speak it and to spit it out the way he spits it out. And then for clarification and for us to be, you know, poised and to understand that there is going to be some growth, there is going to be some growing pains. And so there is that process of there's got to be some degree of patience, but at the same time, we're all trying to be as urgent as we possibly can because we know what's at stake here. So I think all those factors come into it, and the maturity level is where it needs to be.
Fourth row middle, Patrick from 24/7 Sports.
Going back to that first question you were answering, talking about Justin and having the ability to make throws, but realizing when he needs to throw it away. When he got here, where was he on that scale? How comfortable was he, making those decisions? Hey, I'll take the incompletion. I know Ryan's talked about that a lot today, but for this year, but I don't know where he was after playing Georgia last.
When you're in practice and as you're preparing and you're in spring ball, you tend to have a quicker whistle because the quarterbacks aren't live. So you don't know exactly how a lot of those scenarios are going to play out because the whistle's blown dead, and you go on to the next play. And it's kind of like it's spring ball, and it is what it is, and you move on to the next practice. Well, in the games, it's a little bit different because you don't blow the whistle as quick, and he's able to create, he's able to extend plays, and then, when there's an advantageous situation, he takes advantage of it. When it doesn't look good and it looks a little bit bleak, and the advantage isn't on our side, he's able to disengage. So you don't really know what that situation is until you play the game. So there's a little bit of uncertainty early on of where exactly that is. So it's a hard question to answer as far as where was it? Was it always there? And we've just realizing this now. I think it's probably a little bit of both. I think it's development. I think it's a lot of drill work. I think it's a lot of teaching and stressing in meetings and understanding the plan to win here at Ohio State and our philosophy. I think all of that will factor into it. But hard to measure, very hard to measure.
And final question, second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Mike, do you assign the Buckeye leaves for the quarterbacks?
No, sir.
Who does that?
Not sure.
Okay, so that's not any part of the assistant coach's jobs, it's just the guys under you?
I've never been asked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
Yeah.
That's it, Tony? That's your question? All right.
Sorry, Tony.
Okay. Coach, thank you so much. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Thanks, fun. No, I think Quinn.
That's what it all is. It's all jealousy.
From the land of 10,000 lakes. All right, folks, we will open up the floor for questions with defensive lineman Jayshon Cornell. Front row right, Bill from the Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Sean, how much do you remember last year's Maryland game? How much does that drive you guys this week?
It drives us a lot. Maryland's a great program. It's a great team. we got to go out there and give them our best game because last year they gave us their best game. And one thing about Maryland is they have players. They have a lot of players on the offensive side. Their skill set on the offensive side is really good.
What was the feeling among you guys on defense after that game, walking off the field? You won, but what was the feeling like?
It wasn't good enough, you know. That's one thing about this year. Like when we don't think we're as good as we are, and we're always improving. We're always trying to get better each week. That's one thing that we're doing different from we did last year. We're trying to improve every week.
Second row right, Tony from the Ozone.
Jayshawn, you're a fifth-year guy. Aside from what you do on the field on Saturdays, what's your role with this team in terms of being a leader?
I'll say I'm not much of a vocal leader, but I try to do as much as I can on the field to show that I'm trying to lead the team to the right way. Like, I'm in here on most days 'cause I don't have class really because I'm a graduate. So I'm in here watching film and trying to do what I can do to help the team and like seeing stuff that you might not see on the first day of us watching film. I'm just telling like, I noticed this about this player and I noticed this about that player and what we can do to help us improve our skill set going against them.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
You play big-time football, there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes it can be hard to remember how to have fun, especially as a fifth-year guy.
Yeah.
Are you having fun, and how do you have fun?
I think that's the one thing that's different about this team from previous year. Like previous years, I feel like we were so stiff, but like this year we're just letting it loose. We're letting the bullets fly, and I feel like we're just having a lot of fun out there, and we're enjoying playing with each other. Like we can see, like what we have in the locker room now is it's really different. Like the love that we have for each other and the love we have for our brothers. Like we just want to go out there and have fun and play ball. And I feel like that's what one thing that we're doing this year from previous years. Like we're letting it loose.
Is that something you guys came up with as players? Has that been sort of, have the coaches helped with that? How have you gotten to that?
I feel like it's just been the culture since we started once the workouts. Is like we're all playing for each other. We all know where we want to be at the end of the day, and well, you don't want to let your brother down. And like at the same time, you want to have fun. So we know when to have fun, and we know when to lock in. And that's one thing that we really changed from previous years. Like we know when it's time to play, have fun, and we know when time it's like to lock in and be elite football players.
What is fun at this level?
Just letting it loose, I guess. Like in the locker room, we play games all day. Like before practice, we be joking around, and when it's time to go out to practice, we lock in and know what time it's business time.
This is a little inside joke between Jayshawn and me. That way,
Yeah.
Austin, front row right, Lettermen Row.
Jayshawn, with all the attention that Chase is getting, when we watch you guys, obviously you and Devon are helping set him up for some of that, and you don't get the attention maybe the same way that Chase does. When you guys are in the meeting room or on the field or whatever, how much credit does he share with you guys when he has individual success?
Yeah, Chase gives us one thing that Chase praises all of us on the D-line. Like he said, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm able to do if we're not inside helping them out. That's one thing that we love as inside guys, and he gives us inside guys praise about the dirty work that we do. And that's one thing that Chase does a lot is just really give us praise about how we do and what we do on the inside, because sometimes defensive ends don't understand. I used to be a defensive end. It's a hard job to do, to go inside and fit double teams and play 320-pound guards and have a 320-pound tackle come down on you. So I think the ends really have an understanding of what me, Davon, BB, Tommy, and Haskell go through on the inside.
And when he is in this new stand-up kind of, I don't know, prowling around, attacking guards inside that we saw in the Wisconsin game, what makes him so dangerous when he's doing that?
If Chase can be anywhere on the field, it'd be dangerous, I believe. He's just a different type of player. He's an elite college football player. Chase can do anything on the field. Play linebacker, as you saw last game, and stand up and rush and be the best defense in college football. That's one thing that Chase has proven, that he is probably the best player in college football right now.
And right next door, Tim from Lettermen Row.
Yeah, but playing off of that, Jayshawn, do you feel like you're playing with one of the elite players who's ever played here? I mean, is that kind of a sense of it?
I don't know. I've been here for a while, and I don't play with some elite players. So there's some players in the NFL that I played against and played with. So the Bosa's, I've been Taylor Decker, Tyquan Lewis. Like I've been here with Zeke was here, Braxton. So I've been here for a while, and I've seen a lot of elite players come through here. So I'll probably say he's one of the best, might be the best, but I don't know. There's been a lot of elite players that do a lot of different things for this program.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily rank him the number one. I was just wanting to see what you said. The other thing, this time a year ago, we were all trying to figure out what was going wrong with the defense. I'm sure y'all were too. on occasion, the big gash plays y'all gave up and stuff. But nowadays, when y'all get the game plan, is there a sense of almost eagerness or curiosity to see what y'all are going to do next? I mean,
No,
from a defensive standpoint?
It's pretty much man on man. It's man on manhood. It's like you versus that guy across me. You got to win your one-on-one battle first before we do all the extra stuff. So that's one thing that we strictly know now. Like we attack the line of scrimmage, and if you can beat that man one-on-one, you can beat the double team, then we're fine. We can play base the whole game, and all we got to do is win your one-on-ones, and that's one thing that we've been doing really well this year is winning on one-on-ones.
I was going to say, why are you and Devon so effective in that regard?
Coach Johnson, that's one thing that we stressed on the offseason is fitting the run, and that's one thing that we've been doing really well. I feel like is being able to fit the double teams and fit the base blocks to understand the concept of the offense. So like when we understand what the offense is lined up in, we know what we're going to get. So that's one thing that we did in the offseason. Me and Devon was watching a lot of film on pretty much just offense, watching their counters and zones and the different packages that they can go against us, and how will we fit that run and where we can fit those gap schemes.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated Maven.
Jay Sean, I'm looking at the Maryland game last year, 51 points, 7 touchdowns. You played 5 Big Ten games, 5. You've given up 5 touchdowns, 38 points. From the outside, there are no freshmen making an impact on defense. You know, that's not the improvement. So can you help me understand how the same exact guys can be playing so much better this year than last year?
We learn how not to be selfish. You know, sometimes you want to play for yourself sometimes, but now, like, I'm not saying that me personally, but the team is like we're playing for each other. I think that's one thing that we're not arguing, we're not yelling at each other, we're not getting down on each other. If a player makes a mistake, we're pushing them up and saying, look, we got it on the next player, and we're not worried about anything. That's one thing that we're not doing that we did in previous years. We're not playing selfish, we're not playing for one another, we're playing for each other. And I feel like this is just a brotherhood now. It's a really strong brotherhood. Not saying that we haven't had brotherhoods before, but the bond that we have with one another is really different this year.
That word was thrown around a lot in the past, brotherhood. Yeah. It's interesting for me to hear you say that now you either have it on a new level or you...
Yeah, I feel like it's just what the outside world can see, what we see in the locker room now, it's just different. It's a different feeling that we have in the locker room. It's just like, you can see people laughing, having fun. It's like we're just all playing loose, and I feel like that's one thing that's different from being a good football player and a bad football player. Is being able to play loose and understanding like what's in front of you. And I feel like that's some issues that we might have probably had in the past is not being able to play loose.
From the outside in, people look and go, well, 4 of the coaches on the defense are new this year. And the scheme's different, and so people look at that and go, it's the scheme.
Yeah.
We're playing the wrong scheme.
I think just letting us play. That's what we always want to do, just let us play. And that's one thing that we're doing is just playing ball.
And final questions, front row right, Joey from the Columbus Dispatch.
Chase had a couple bad ankles last season. Do you remember him playing through much pain last year?
Oh yeah, Chase played through. Like I said, one thing that we learn how to play through pain. You know, if you either you're hurt or you're injured. If you're hurt, you can play. But if you're injured, you might just sit down and let it rest. But if you hurt, we learn how to play hurt, and that's one thing. Something we didn't understand how to do, I feel like.
Do you think he's helped the fact that he's maybe has better ankles this year?
Yeah. That's one thing I've seen Chase do more this year is being in the training room and taking care of his body. That's one thing that a lot of players have been doing. And this year has been in the training room taking care of the body. That's getting stretched, ice, stem, as everybody's just working, getting the hot tub, cold tub more. It's like I'm saying, like I feel like this team is like acting like an NFL team. They're taking care of their business. Each player's individually taking care of themselves and understanding like what they can do better to make this program better. And I feel like one thing that you can do is take care of your body, and that's what a lot of players are doing now, is taking care of their body, understanding what they have to do to be ready to play on Saturday.
Great. Jay Sean, thank you so much.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, folks, Justin will be our last guy. We had a baby issue with Brandon. He's got a little guy, and he forgot about a medical appointment that he wanted to go in. And I don't get KJ today, so we'll open up the floor this afternoon for Justin. Far left, Lori from 610 WTVN.
Obviously, we kind of ask this every week of you, but how are you feeling physically?
I feel good. Got a lot of treatment last week, and I just worked on my back a lot. I said a lot, so I feel good going into this week.
I know that you and JK have made it sort of a priority to build your rapport with the offensive line? You had a bye week. Did you get anything done in terms of? Well, I'm wondering if did you bring them out to another restaurant or a movie or a game?
No, I talked to him a little bit about it yesterday, and going somewhere nice. So I think we're just gonna probably go soon somewhere. So I'm not sure where they want to go yet, but if they let me know, then we'll be there soon.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
Ask Coach Day this, so I'm going to ask you. There's so much pressure at this level. It's like a business at times. How do you have fun? And are you having fun? What do you define fun as other than winning?
I mean, the reason I play this sport is because it's fun. I don't play it because I don't know. I guess the only reason I play the game is because I like it and I enjoy it. So as long as I keep having fun in the game, no matter what role I'm playing, if I'm a starter, if I'm a backup, as long as I'm having fun, I'll continue to play the sport. So that's pretty much why I play the sport, is to have fun.
You have to remind yourself when you're in the heat of the moment that it is just a game and to enjoy yourself?
No, not really. I try to remind myself of the bigger picture of why I play the game is pretty much to have fun and to influence other people, with God, and kind of show them why I have a lot of success at this stage. So I think God has put me here for a purpose. So I'm just trying to fulfill His purpose for me and just try to influence a lot of people out there in the world.
Front row right, Austin from Lettermen Row.
Justin, you had a drive in the Northwestern game where you went to Austin like 4 times,
Yeah.
scored the touchdown. Are there times when a quarterback just like wants to get a guy involved to just work out that way on that drive?
Yeah, I was thinking about after that certain drive, and I was like, Austin did get the ball like a lot of times that drive, but no, it's not really a player. It's just the plays coach calls, and he had the best space and best leverage and best matchup. So I just went to him on most of those plays.
If you could get him back this week, I know he missed the Wisconsin game. Like, what does he give the offense when he's out there?
I think he gives the receiving core and the offense great leadership. He's definitely a great player. I think he's a big body, so I definitely like that. And he's a great mind. He's a smart receiver. He's just a great all-around receiver. So having him back would definitely help the team a lot.
Front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
Tonight's the first college football playoff standings or rankings.
Mm-hmm.
How much interest do you have? Will you be watching?
Nah, I have zero interest because it doesn't matter until we're done with the. Hopefully we make it to the Big Ten championship, but after that game, that's when it matters. So we're just trying to take it week by week because we know no matter where they rank us today, that won't affect us where we're ranked, where we need, like towards the end of the season. So I'm not really worried about the rankings right now.
Okay. I mean, not even any curiosity about it?
Nah, I don't care. Like I don't care if they put us 25. To be honest, like I really don't care.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated Maven.
Justin, Mike Yurich says you have the makings of a really good golfer.
We did a little QB golfing outing. I think it was in the summer, and it was my first time golfing, like actual golfing instead of going to Topgolf and stuff like that. So it was pretty fun, and I wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So I'll probably pick it up more and more as I grow and get older, because I definitely like the game of golf, and I wasn't bad at it. I think I was pretty much the best player on my team, I think. But Coach Yurich is pretty good too. So yeah, but I definitely like golf.
Play 18 or 9?
We played. Pretty sure we played 18.
Remember what you shot?
Nah, I have no idea. I just because we played as a group, so like the scores are kind of weird. So I have no idea really.
I just wonder if your natural athletic ability. I assume if you can golf, never trying it. I assume your sister, I know, is a really good softball player.
Yeah.
I assume you're a pretty natural athlete at everything you've tried. So I wonder, your numbers this year would not automatically be something people would assume you have, given your first year at Georgia. Have you exceeded your expectations, or is your confidence in yourself as an athlete such that when you came here, you're not surprised by the numbers you're putting up?
No, I'm not really surprised by the numbers I'm putting up, and I feel like there's also room for me to grow. Coach Day was telling me and JK that this offense hasn't really hit or even came close to our potential. So we're just going to try to continue to grow each and every week and just try to get better as an offense. I feel like I can be putting up bigger numbers right now, but I mean, it doesn't really matter what the numbers are or what the numbers say. As long as we get the dub each and every week, that's all I really care about.
Front row middle, Joey from the Dispatch.
Justin, I'm wondering, do you have much experience playing in cold weather?
Yeah, I mean, high school there were some games like 27, 29, so.
Well, what did you take away from that? Games are going to get obviously cooler here over the next few weeks.
I mean, I don't think the weather does much. I mean, because we have so much things on the sideline that we didn't have in high school, like the heated benches and stuff like that. So I don't think it'll be a huge factor in the game.
And final questions, front row left, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
How much is the way this defense is performing taking some pressure off you or help you kind of do what you've done this season?
Yeah, just having the defense there helps the whole team out a lot. I mean, just getting the opposing offense 3 and out, that definitely helps the offense with field position and just kind of getting the momentum going our way. So just having the defense doing what they're doing on the field right now definitely helps the offense out a lot in terms of scoring and just in terms of kind of just keeping the momentum going on our side of the ball.
Does it specifically take pressure off of you, or I mean, maybe applies earlier this season as the first-year quarterback coming in, but just knowing that you didn't have to go out and score 40, 50 points a game in order for this team to win?
No, not really, because I feel like we put up, like, I don't feel like we go out there and say, like, there's a set amount of points we need, because we try to score on each and every drive, so there's not really particular more pressure on one drive or less pressure on the other, really. So we just try to go out there and score pretty much every time we're out on the field.
We're going to take a mulligan here and have a do-over here. Fourth row middle, Patrick from 24/7. Last questions right there.
Justin, we have talked a lot about you throwing the ball away this year, and Coach Day's talked about it. Coach Yurich was saying that you have the arm strength that your knack may have been to try and make the play before you kind of went through having to throw the ball away. I'm curious, at what point in your development did that become a thing you had to do? I imagine high school you could make plays. I don't know how much you worked on that as a backup last year at Georgia. When did throwing the ball away and making the smart play become more of a focus for you?
Probably this year, because at Georgia last year I was just trying to make a play each and every time I was out on the field. So I really wasn't thinking about throwing the ball away. In high school, high school was pretty much easy. So at least for me it was. I mean, we were playing against, I was pretty much the biggest guy on the field, so I could pretty much make a play on every play. But yeah, so I would say throwing the ball away was pretty much kind of a big thing I focused on this year, and I'm just trying to improve on that and just get better at it and just continue to make the best decisions for the team, really. So. Yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you very much.
Bill, I think he took the